This is Bajaj Allianz Life. Life Goal Talks.
लिविंग लॉन्गर एंड डाइंग अर्ली, ये दो प्रॉब्लम इंश्योरेंस सॉल्व कर लेता है. बाकी सारे प्रॉब्लम्स के लिए बाकी सब कुछ है.
For nuggets like the one you just heard and more, well, you've come to the right place. Hello and welcome to Life Goal Talks, the podcast where we discuss the ways we plan our financial life goals. My name is Rakesh Sharma. Today, we are discussing that all-important issue for everybody who's working, retirement planning. You know, there's a line that stayed with me while reading up about retirement planning. It goes, it's not simply about how much you earn, it's really about how much you save. And one of the things about growing up is that our point of view on expenditure and savings undergoes such a dramatic change. But let's find out where we are as Indians in terms of retirement planning. One survey in 2021 indicated that as many as 80% of urban Indians were not ready for retirement. 4 out of 5 people in Indian cities have this nagging fear that their savings will not last through retirement. Then there are, of course, mindset issues. While over 65% of Indians feel retirement is a good thing, 32%, that's almost 1 in 3 people, are unsettled or intimidated by retirement. They feel it is associated with illness, dwindling savings, loneliness, boredom, and, most of all, dependence. So on today's episode, we are discussing this crucial life goal: how to do retirement planning and eliminate all those fears. Retirement planning is an important aspect of financial planning, but it need not be such a daunting exercise, and it certainly need not be intimidating. Retirement planning can be made simple with the help of experts and long-term planning towards an outcome that can grant freedom from worry and dependence for anyone and everyone. And fortunately for us, we are joined by just one such expert. To help us with this vital life goal, on Life Goal Talks, we have with us an expert and an industry veteran, Mr. Sameer Joshi, the Chief Agency Officer at Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance. Sameer has over 2 decades of experience, with 18 of those years in the life insurance industry. In his current role, Sameer is responsible for all agency business at Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance and also helps drive innovation on the sales side of things for that channel. Hello and welcome to the podcast, Sameer. Great to have you.
Glad to be here, Rakesh, and thanks for having me.
All right. Without beating around the bush too much, let's start with the core of what we're talking. So many of us have heard about saving for retirement from the time we landed our first job. This is the thing that your parents tell you all the time. But at that age, when you've just joined a new job at 22 or 23, retirement is the last thing on our mind because we want to live in the moment and, make use of all the opportunities and youthful things that are coming at us. So why should people below the age of 40 even care about retirement planning, considering, it's about 3 or 4 decades into the future for so many young people? Why should we care?
You're absolutely right, Rakesh. If you ask anyone who's right now in maybe 20, 25, 30, and if you ask them about retirement, and they'll always, have this belief that, retirement is like 3, 4 decades hence, why should I plan it? But I think the few things which are very critical, and, as youngsters, there was a time wherein, we lived in, joint families. Retirement as a problem statement was never there. I don't think, people would have even discussed retirement. But today things have changed. Today things have changed because, we are in nuclear families. We are on our own. People have moved out of their hometowns and working somewhere else. And honestly, they will have to face this because this is something which is an inevitable truth, if I had to put it that way. Because you are not going to work throughout your life. You will at some point of time take a pause. And then looking at the life expectancy, now, if you've seen the latest data, there's a longer life expectancy. People are living up to 80, 85, which means that if you retire at the age of 60, you are going to live for 20, 25 years, which means that you should have a plan in place. Also, the second thing which is happening is that people are now talking about retiring at age of 45. Some people, if you ask them, I want to work till about 50 and then want to enjoy my life. It's there in the mind, but honestly, they have not even thought through how are they going to survive? How are they even going to plan or maintain the lifestyle? They've reached a stage wherein they have maintained a certain lifestyle, and then it becomes important to maintain it even after retirement. So I'll give you an example. When I say inevitable milestone, retirement is an inevitable milestone for a lot of people. Death is an inevitable milestone for everyone, I would say. So Have you planned for it? And since this is going to be a reality, there is a need to plan it. In our schools we talk about we teach accounting, we teach mathematics, we teach algebra, calculus, everything. Unfortunately, none of the schools and colleges teach about how do you plan your life goals. And it has been proven. If you start early, you will, because of the law of compounding, it will help you to create a bigger corpus than maybe you start late.
So on the one hand, we are living longer, so we must plan out our later years much better. Are there any other factors that propel us to want to plan better?
The power of compounding is so important. I'll give you an example. If you start investing, say, 10,000 every month and you're at the age of 25,
right?
By the age of 60, even if you consider a 12% return, you would have created a corpus of 5.8 crores.
Wow.
But if you start investing 10,000 every month at the age of 35, and by the time you're age of 60, you would create a corpus of 1.8 crores.
Wow.
If you see the difference is 4 crores in just 10 years. And if you plan, to retire at age of 60, and you say, no, maybe now I'm 45, let me start planning it. Just to get a corpus of 5.8 crores, you'll have to start saving 1.3 lakhs per month. So, you can imagine that every year delay, it's only going to make it difficult. It's only going to make your entire planning to be far more crisper and more critical. Keep aside an X amount of money so that it will help you in the inevitable milestone of retirement.
But this is obviously a completely rational and sane argument. But you present this to somebody who is 20 years old or 25 years old, they'll be like, "Mujhe nahi ye sab sunna hai," because they're worried that this kind of saving might eat into the quality of their lives. So, must we start retirement early? And if I do, will it eat into the kind of life I want to have in my 20s?
I think start small. So, like you rightly said, if you are 20, I agree. The bigger worries are. Where am I going to go for this weekend? Which trip am I going to take? Which are the friends that I'm going to go out with? But if at all, if you keep, this inevitable milestone in mind and say, can I start saving maybe 1,000 rupees? Okay. And it could be anything. Right now, there are various aspects that are there. People are talking about. So, for example, when you start working, Provident Fund is already part of the CTC that you get. So that most of the organizations, they are doing it. Then you have mutual funds, where people are investing in mutual funds. Then there is, a product like insurance. If you start small, and you need not start with, like I said, I gave that example of 10,000. But even if you start with 1,000, today you go to see a movie and you end up spending what, 2,000 in a multiplex. Can we start small with 1,000? And every maybe 5-year gap, you can keep increasing maybe 20% of that, because you will also, your earning will go up. You have kept aside an X percentage, and it's a very minuscule percentage of your earnings. But start early. And again, it's more of awareness that needs to be done. And maybe through this podcast, we will be able to create some amount of awareness here. As you grow in your careers, as you grow in your age, and you have more available amounts to invest in your retirement, keep increasing that, so that suddenly you will not have a huge pressure. I'll give you an example, and maybe this example will be interesting enough. Today, if you are maybe a family of 3 people, you maybe and your parents, you would be spending around 600 rupees per day only on food, which is 3 meals for you and your immediate dependents, which means that in a year you end up spending 2,19,000 only on food. And this is today. You're 2022. Then you get married, you have kids, you have parents along with you. The only food expense, and assuming that, at age of 60, I'm saying you're currently 25 and maybe next 40 years, looking at the inflation at 6%, you will have to keep aside at least 10 to 12 lakhs only for food expenses.
Wow.
So you ask anyone, have you really planned for it? And the answer will be, maybe I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
And hence, we will have to start creating this awareness. And at the age of 60, food is just one part of the expense, but there will be medical expenses, there will be social events or engagements that you would be attending, that expense. So it just keeps on adding. So If you start, creating this awareness, if you start small, you will realize that, that sudden pressure of creating a huge chunk of money, that will go away. And it will take care of your lifestyle when you retire.
When you speak to people my generation, or at least 5 to 8 years younger than even me, I think their number one life goal these days is to retire as early as possible. They're working so that they can retire faster. Which brings me to the next question. Obviously, the logical thing to do would be to start saving up early, when in your 20s, when you start your first job. But let's say someone has not been able to do it. They're already on the wrong side of 35, but they've had a lot of other engagements. Maybe they've had a difficult youth and there were debts from college and there were medical expenses. And perhaps they got into a good job only somewhat later in their lives. Is 35 or 36 too late to start this?
So I just mentioned, that we must start early as possible, because that's the best option. But, sometimes, like you said, there are cases wherein people would have had some challenges, wherein they have not been able to start early. You need not be worried, because you can start a bit late. But there are a few things that you have to remember when you start a bit later. One is that you'll have to start saving a little bit more than a normal person would have, who would have started early. If I have to get that kind of a corpus of 5.8 crores, normally I would have spent maybe 10,000 rupees. But at the age of 35, assuming that you are the person who would have had a difficult period, you might have to start putting in some 35,000 per month, so that, you can achieve your milestone. Second, starting somewhere is important, and not starting at all is a far more dangerous situation. So maybe you would have missed out, but it's fine. You can start. You have to keep this in mind, that you have lost some critical years. Can I start saving a bit more? You also need to start looking at your portfolio allocation. Today, when I keep my life goals, there are various life goals. When I get married, I will think about, and if I have kids, I will think about their education. I will think about my children's marriage. So education is a very inevitable milestone. Marriage, it might change. You never know what might happen. So it might be a milestone which might not be inevitable. Your dependence, after if something happens to you, that's an inevitable. So your death is inevitable. When COVID hit, and I know of people dying at the age of 35, 36, a reality which no one expected. कि 35-36 में कोई जाएगा, and we had family members, friends who died at the age of 35, 36. And then I asked them, did you plan for something, for your dependents? Unfortunately, very few people had planned. And they believe कि सब मेरे 5 लाख का इंश्योरेंस है, मतलब 5 लाख तो कब खत्म हो जाएंगे पता नहीं चलेगा. मैंने बच्चों का फीस अभी 1.5-2 लाख हो गया अभी. So you have to plan out which kind of asset class you want to invest. So in places, so maybe the foreign holiday, if I have planned for a foreign holiday, maybe 10 years or 5 years ends, I might say, okay, can I look at maybe a mutual fund as an option? But there are some few life goals which are critical. And that's where, the insurance will come and play a role. Because in insurance, there is a certain amount of discipline, which is part of this entire product that has been created.
Right.
So people tell me, Sameer, 5 years, lock-in rakhna padega, you don't have a choice, you can't remove the money. But I think, those 5 years, that discipline is a forced discipline. Because the life goals are not changing. Your kid still needs that, maybe that 25 lakh, 30 lakh when he decides to go to the US. So if this corpus is created, maybe you will be happy at end of 10 years, because even if you're getting lured by some milestone, which, like I said, I want to buy a car. I already have a budget of 5 lakhs. I need 2 lakh more. I'll redeem some amount and immediately get 2 lakhs. In insurance, you will not get that. So this amount is there created for your specific life goal. Similarly, retirement, you keep investing for 10 years, 15 years, but you will be assured that this money will remain with you and it will only be useful when you actually are retiring. So even if you start late, absolutely no issue. Decide the asset classes that you want to invest in, start saving a bit more. And if it is really drastic, you'll have to also maybe work still maybe 4-5 years. Maybe if you're planning to retire at 50, maybe you'll have to then keep working till 60 or maybe 65. But these are the top 3 things which I believe can be done.
Now I'm sold. I believe that the earlier we start is better, because then I won't have to work till 60 or 65. So now that I have decided that some planning is required, how does one go about creating this retirement plan? What are some concrete components that one must know before going in for retirement planning, Sameer?
Few questions which will always come in your mind. how much money should I need when I'm retiring? So what is the kind of corpus that I would need? And how do I build this corpus? So these are the two big things. And somewhere in my earlier statements, I've tried to answer it. Like the example that I gave you, of food. If you're age of 40 right now, you'll have to keep aside 2 crores just for your food when you retire at the age of 60, which is 20 years hence, because you'll need to eat. But also there's a rule which people follow, and it's slightly outdated, but there used to be a 4% rule. If you have, say, 1 crore as your retirement corpus, you must not spend more than 4 lakhs per year after retirement. So it actually is capping how much you should spend when you have a corpus created. But things are changing. And, today, we have a lot of asset classes wherein you can invest. And hence, you'll have to plan it in such a way that, you have an X amount of money which has been created, which will take care of your lifestyle, your health, your food, and most importantly, the social status that you have created for yourself. Plan your age of retirement well in advance. A lot of people believe 45 is the right age now, but even if it is 50, 55, plan that well in advance. Think about the current monthly expenditure that you have and keep inflation in mind. Inflation will play a role. Even at a 6% inflation, you will have to plan it accordingly. The third is the life expectancy. When you retire, you have to plan for the next 25, 30 years. And also, like I said, the asset classes. What do we expect? So there will be some asset classes which will give you a steady return, but it will not be very, very high. So can I do that asset allocation in such a way that in some places, I might get a higher return. In some areas, I will get a steady return, but I will go for safety, as I grow slightly older, maybe 45, 50 years.
Figuring out all of these is crucial. Inflation is only going to rise. We are only going to live a lot longer because of the advances in healthcare science, etc., etc. But if we have to leave our listeners with a few ABC points in terms of the kinds of asset classes they need to start investing in because there are better returns, etc., what would you say are those plans and instruments?
So, I will talk about all the asset classes that come to my mind. One, first and foremost, is first take a stock of where does your money lie right now. People have invested in provident funds, which because of, if they're working somewhere, for all the salaried classes, it's part of their CTC. So provident fund is one. And provident funds has helped a lot of people plan their retirement, but not completely, because there's only an X amount which gets allocated to the provident fund. So you'll have to plan, where does your money lie today. Second, there are various, asset classes like PPF, which is a 15-year, 20-year investment, wherein, you get compounding return, and it also helps, you to earmark a certain amount, which is up to 1.5 lakhs, and, it's all tax-free. Plus, then you have mutual funds, you have ELSS, which will give you your avenue to invest money and invest money for a longer time. And then you also have insurance, because like I said, you'll have to decide that these are the 4 or 5 life goals for me, which are going to be there with me. This is inevitable. I have to live with it. And that's where insurance will play a role. And there are few life goals for you wherein you will, like buying the car, buying a house, the next holiday, those are life goals wherein you might need liquidity. You will need immediate cash.
Right.
And that's where maybe you can use, FDs or mutual funds as an option. But where insurance actually plays a role, and because, I've been working in insurance for the last 18 years, I can tell you that people, because of the nature of, compulsion, because of the nature of the product, people have been able to save money and achieve the life goals, which are required for them. And it's not very complicated. You will have to know how much you're earning, how much would you spend, and what is the amount of money that you would have to keep aside. And then these asset classes will help you.
So figuring out our goals is probably among the first things we need to do while we start retirement planning. Another solution that a lot of people use in our country is, of course, annuity. We have annuity plans that provide income at certain regular intervals for retired folks to make sure that their finances are taken care of, that they're financially independent. But given the variety of options that are available these days, is an annuity plan outdated or is it still relevant?
So annuity plan is not an outdated plan. It's still relevant because, when you start buying the annuities, there is a certain amount of, rates, the annuity rates, which are pre-decided. So I'll give you an example. There are some products wherein they plan it that for the next 25 years, the annuity rate will be, say, 7%. I'm just taking an example here. Now, as you at least have a very good idea that for the next 25 years, this is an amount of money which will get created from the amount of money that I would have saved now. And this gives a lot of confidence to you because, in other asset classes, you never know what is the rate of return that you will get. To give you an example, 15 years back, your fixed deposits were giving you return of 13 to 14%. Now it's come down to around 5.5%, 6%. Now you don't know in the next 20 years what would a fixed deposit give you. So if I am planning for my retirement, I will say I will keep an X amount of money in annuities because I know that this is the amount of money that I will surely need. And this amount of money is all pre-decided. The rate is fixed. And I know that this rate is fixed for the next 25 years. And hence annuity will never lose its charm for people who have planned for those expenses. If I need, say, 30,000 rupees every month to take care of my food and my medicines, then I will know that if this annuity product that I've taken, this will give me the 30,000 rupees that I need. This is guaranteed. So I don't have to really worry about the markets going up, down, mutual fund returns coming up and down, FD rates going up and down. So I don't have to worry about that. And hence annuity as an asset class will always have that flavor when you're planning your retirements.
Let's take three people in three different age brackets, 25, 35, 45. Are there different kinds of annuity plans that you would recommend to these people? Just to get a sense of what kinds of annuity plans are out there for me, are there a few examples you would like to take for us, Samir?
So, when you are young, you will have to, like I said, when you are young, your planning of retirement itself for a lot of people is just not there.
Yeah.
So, when you start small, you will keep in mind that, I will keep aside an X amount of money till so that I can get a certain corpus maybe till the age of 45.
Right.
And then you actually start keeping aside this money for retirement in an annuity plan so that, till the age of 60, or maybe till the age of 55, you keep investing in that annuity plan. And wait for, maybe 5-6 years. And then once you really start needing that annuity option, that is the time wherein you will keep getting that annuity payout every month. So there are various options that are available. In fact, annuity plans is one, but also, there are other products in insurance which helps you because those are whole life in nature. They help you create a corpus and till such time, till the age of 100, you will keep getting an X amount of money, every year or every month. So, there are some options which are also there, which invest in the markets. We have a product called as Lifelong Goal. Gets you invested in the market. You keep investing for 10 years, 15 years. And then, at the age of maybe 60 or maybe age of 55, you can plan that, I will need maybe 1 lakh every month or 2 lakhs every month. There are various options. Annuities being one, whole life plans being another, and unit link plans being the third option. And these all three plans, depending on your ability to take risks, these are then offered to customers.
So let's say I've come to a Bajaj Alliance agent. I've come to you, Samir. And what are the kinds of questions I, as a potential person forming an annuity plan, should be asking you? Is there like a checklist of questions I should be asking you? And is there a list of mistakes I might make if I went to someone else, not as competent as you?
I think few questions. First and foremost, you should be asking yourself is what is the plan for retirement? What is my ability to take risks? So if you want to be if you are a person who's 100% risk-free, who believes that I am okay with a certain upside, but I'm not at all okay with the downside. I think these questions you have to discuss with your insurance consultant. Also, the next question that you should ask your insurance consultant is basis this, what are the downsides of this? Will there be a loss in my corpus? What is the probability of that loss? How long do I have to keep invested? What is the amount of returns that I should expect, when I invest in this plan? Will it help me get my desired corpus, when I reach that stage? And for that, how much do I have to invest to achieve, that goal of mine? The mistakes that you said, one big mistake is that people believe that because in a few years the markets have given you 20-25% return, it will remain that way throughout. Markets on a longer term have always been quite positive, but you also have to plan it in such a way that you have to be moderate in terms of expecting the returns. And if you are a guy who is worried about the returns, who's worried about the downsides, just go for a guaranteed plan, because everything is pre-decided. It's written and given to you, and it's in black and white. And whatever you're investing, you will know what I'm investing, for how long am I investing, what will I get, how much will I get, and when will I get. Then all your questions are answered, and you can be peaceful and retire very peacefully.
So that's I suppose the crux of it. My way of retiring depends on the goals I have for myself and how risk averse I am in terms of the kinds of investments I want to make. So those are some excellent points. I am a full convert on retiring early. I've clearly not done it as early as I should have, but you've given me reason to think more. Is there anything else that you want to leave our listeners with? Maybe things you've already spoken about, but things you want to emphasize about retirement planning. 3 most important points.
So my parting words, Rakesh, would be, start early, plan wisely, and retire peacefully. And I keep emphasizing on this because even today, people are taking this quite lightly. Start early, plan wisely, retire peacefully. And all 3 are very important. And, there are financial experts. So please seek help. Let them do the heavy lifting. If you have still more details, more information that you need, please reach out to any of our insurance consultants from Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance, and they will surely help you get your life goals done.
Start early, plan wisely, retirement peacefully. That's as good a note to stop this episode on. Thank you, Samir, for all those words. I'm sure this has given a lot of our listeners a lot to think about. And make sure that instead of the 4 movies that they watch in the cinemas now that they're 25, they might make it 3 and in the process save about 2,000 rupees to start retirement planning as early as possible. Thank you so much, Samir.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. Thanks for your time. Thanks.
The views expressed by the speaker in the podcast is not to be construed as investment advice, and listeners are suggested to seek independent financial advice before making any investment decisions. For more details on risk factors, terms and conditions, please read the sales brochure available on www.bajajallianz.com carefully before concluding a sale.